Hello and welcome to the latest Sunday Independent Ireland Thinks poll, where it's good news for Fine Gael and Simon Harris, now the most popular party in the country, and bad news for Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou McDonald, whose personal popularity seems to be gradually ebbing away. Joining me to run through all those results and more is pollster with Ireland Thinks, Kevin Cunningham. Kevin, can you just go through the state of the parties, because it's quite interesting. We've seen a bit of a flip this month between Sinn Féin and Fine Gael, and we can talk about why that might be, but you might just run through them if that's okay.
Yeah, so I mean, what's interesting is that there isn't a huge amount of change. Fine Gael up 1 to 20, Sinn Féin down 1 to 19, Fianna Fáil also up 1 to 17. Social Democrats no change, and pretty much everything else is no change. Independent Ireland actually down 2 to 7, but the rest no change.
Get us a little bit excited.
Labour Party 3, Green Party 3, PPP 2. But when people talk about polls, the key is also the trend, the kind of trend between different parties. And what's happened the last couple of months, which is interesting, is that Fine Gael have obviously sustained a gap over Fianna Fáil, and they continue to be ahead.
Yeah, which we've seen kind of since the by-election, maybe a bit before that as well.
Yeah. I think the by-election actually is a pretty interesting part of this, but I'm interested to hear what you say about this. But then the other bit is Sinn Féin have kind of declined a little bit, and that decline also coincides with leadership approval ratings, for which you have another 1 point drop for Mary Lou McDonald. Now it's worth saying that the leadership approval ratings are averages, so they should be much more stationary and stable than anything else.
But that is a trend.
You've seen this decline for Mary Lou McDonald's approval rating over time. And Ivana Bacik actually is down to 28, which could be her lowest. But that's also a further decline. I wonder whether that's in the context of the relative support for the Social Democrats. They're on 12 this month. They're on 12 last month.
Yeah.
They're kind of stabilising at a relatively high level. But the Fine Gael figure, what is it, do you think, that has led to this gap and this relative strength for Fine Gael?
I think there's a couple of things going on. One is, I mentioned the by-election, and they've kind of rode this wave since then, not dissimilar to the Social Democrats.
Yeah.
And they seem to have recaptured something in the early days of Simon Harris, right? Now, we're not looking at
recaptured what they had
in part. Like, this is quite surprising for a government party to now be at the top, right? Now, margin of error and everything else. So I think that's how front and centre Simon Harris has been, how the party has actually successfully managed to differentiate itself from Fianna Fáil in government. I think that's a really important aspect of it. And I do think it's interesting looking at the Fine Gael figure, right? Because it's 20, they're 1 point ahead of Sinn Féin, and they're 3 clear of Fianna Fáil. However, the personal popularity of Simon Harris hasn't really changed. And you say they may remain static. Feeding into this, I think, is the relative strength of what you've seen from maybe Fine Gael ministers recently.
You're talking about
like Jennifer Carroll McNeill, right?
So
and I do wonder, is this feeding into that bump?
Yeah, so there's two things to say about that. One is, when we did the poll last month, we asked who do they think was the best performing minister outside of the two leaders, and Jennifer Carroll McNeill was doing very strongly. She's behind Jim Callahan.
Of Fine Gael,
she was by far and away the next. The second thing, which kind of reflects this as well, which is an interesting point you've made, is that like healthcare and health is usually, like, used to be the number one issue in the whole time. The fact that it's 12 in some respects kind of makes you wonder about it as an issue, and the extent to which, I'm not saying that the healthcare system is doing fantastically, but obviously there isn't the same amount of grief attached to that ministerial position than there might have been.
I think there's a post-COVID effect going on there in terms of the health service, and also I think there was that trifecta, bear in mind, of Jennifer Carroll McNeill, Bernard Gloucester, and Robert Watt, who recently left as Sec-Gen.
In terms of the funding of the health?
No, I just mean in terms of those 3 figures, those 3 characters within health, the head of the HSE, the Secretary-General of the Department of Health, and the minister, the new minister, Jennifer Carroll McNeill, have been able to work together, it's no longer that trifecta because 2 of them departed now, and keep the sort of political lid on health and stop things spilling over. I mean, you've even had stuff like CHI and the spinal surgery controversy, and you obviously had the most recent Rotunda row, which was seen as a win for the minister. So
the CHI, the minister has been quite... She's had a couple of interviews, obviously, which I think people would have objectively thought that performed relatively well, I guess.
Yeah. And I think, look, I mean, it puts Simon Harris in a strong position as party leader still. So anyway, look, good news, I suppose, for Fine Gael. Look, it's a small gap and the margin of error. But I do think it's, just to come back to the first point I was making, was this differentiation between themselves and Fianna Fáil and government.
Well, the other interesting thing is obviously that you would normally expect, and this is not always the case, of the minor coalition partner to do relatively not as well.
Yeah,
and
squeezed out the second stool.
Yeah, and I think a function of this is because the Taoiseach is the person that is able to kind of, as you would argue, be kind of the lead figure, and his party in this case would get more prominence and be able to stand over kind of meetings with other dignitaries in other parts of the world.
And the Tánaiste typically taking a back seat.
Yeah, and
that
their party.
Happened.
But in this case, Fine Gael are doing relatively well. It's interesting. I mean, if you go back as well, Fianna Fáil did quite well in that position with Leo Varadkar as leader in the second half.
Sure.
And that obviously in some respect triggered a change of leader.
I think there's also the sort of just ongoing perma-crisis within Fianna Fáil of what it is.
Yeah.
So as we look, okay, fair enough, they're up 1 this month. They'll probably take a bit of heart from that. But I think that's going to go, whereas Fine Gael seem to be figuring out in government what they're doing a bit more.
This leads us to, let's talk about the other. Now, we've done this poll a number of times.
Yeah.
There's a question here which is, when should Micheál Martin stand down as leader of Fianna Fáil? We've asked this question a lot. Yeah. Now, 42%, 40% November 2027, it's a change.
Yeah.
13% at the general election and 4%. Yeah. So relatively few people think he should go to the general. I did look at the Fianna Fáil voters themselves. So relatively few Fianna Fáil voters actually want Micheál Martin to go now, 4%, 56% at November, so 60%.
Yeah, I guess quite
not into the general election, and then the kind of 40% is the kind of general election.
No question there about January next year, though, and that's kind of the big question, isn't it? Because there's this something of a perceived wisdom in Leinster House at the moment that, and we've talked about this before, when Micheál Martin's on the world stage and he's doing the statesman-like thing, his popularity goes up. And he's seen as the party's best asset. He's going to be doing that a lot for the next 6 months of the EU presidency.
Yeah.
That could, I actually would almost predict that would sustain him to the end of 2027 based on goodwill and the party not potentially shooting itself in the foot. Will it be enough to sate some of the rebels who, let's face it, have never actually mounted a heave, even attempted really to mount a heave? But next January will be interesting to watch that tension. It will bubble up again. But Micheál Martin only this week was saying that he fully intends to fulfil his mandate as Taoiseach. Interestingly, he has said before he plans to go to the general election. He said his mandate is Taoiseach this week, and that goes, as we know, to the end of next year. So, obviously, you've asked numerous times about...
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, yeah.
No, I was just going to touch on the Fianna Fáil leadership more generally, because, again, we've asked this month who people think should replace.
Yeah. I want to touch on one thing before you go on to that, because you mentioned the statesman aspect, and he, Micheál Martin is still relatively quite popular for so long, but also he mentioned this thing about Ukraine as well recently, about welcoming the idea of Ukraine becoming a member of the EU. This is something we actually polled. 62% would be in favour of this, 25% opposed. So I think it's worth acknowledging that on that issue, at least, he's positioned himself relatively in a popular position with in respect to the public. There are other issues when it comes to those kind of international affairs where his support is a little bit more divided. When it comes to the triple lock and the neutrality stuff, that's a lot stickier.
Yeah, we've seen his own party come out now in the last week having an issue with this, spearheaded by former Defence Minister Willie O'D, 17 so-called rebels signing a list objecting to it or saying they need a debate, even though it's in the party manifesto. It is interesting to see what happens with him in the next 6 months, but Jim O'Callaghan's still well out in front as potential future leader. And again, interestingly from this, my reading of it anyway, is again no change for Jack Chambers, down 1 point. That's been static since nearly before even the whole Jim Gavin debacle, right? It hasn't really moved, and I think that indicates a lot. But Dara Cleary, I think, is up quite a bit. Is he? He's up a good bit.
I can't recall exactly the figures that we have on this specific question. I do remember Dara Cleary rising in relative prominence in terms of... I wonder whether there's a sense within Fianna Fáil that the direction of travel for the party within some parts is that it needs to recapture some of that kind of rural vote. Yeah. That it is actually losing to a great extent to the kind of independents in independent Ireland. And we saw that in the Galway West by-election,
Correct, yeah.
If you're to look at the scale of support that Eamon O'Keefe would have had in Galway West and the vote that they got recently, the vote that Cónal Thomas got, obviously, they.
Well, bear in mind, Dara Cleary was the director of elections out there, and it didn't go too well for them. So I don't know what that says.
Well, I mean,
but I do think, look, the rural, manoeuvres are going to be key, really, aren't they, when the time comes and people put their names forward, and it's something that you would wonder will Jim O'Callaghan struggle with.
I think it is interesting. I mean, he is clearly the lead favourite as a candidate, and in a way, the way in which Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have kind of merged into like the parliamentary parties are quite different, because these are the parliamentary parties are made up of people who selected Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael respectively 20, maybe 30, 40 years ago, right? Yeah. But if you were to select today, the Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael parliamentary party from people who currently vote, there really isn't a massive difference. And that's why we have this swing of voters from one to the other. And you could see how Jim O'Callaghan probably is well positioned within that Fianna Fáil vote and within the people who are interested in this leadership, which probably also includes Fine Gael voters. So I think, we have 40% saying that they have no opinion or no interest. I have to double check this, but I'd be fairly certain that that's mainly Sinn Féin, Social Democrats.
Sure.
Whereas the 60% who have given an indication will include obviously Fianna Fáil, but I'd say almost all the Fine Gael voters are also kind of picking.
Interesting
here
as well what you asked here, just in the context of Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Sinn Féin, is you might just talk me through it, is a little bit around the United Ireland.
Yeah, the United Ireland.
United Ireland, yes, 53, no, 28. I'd be interested to see a breakdown of that, because we've seen quite recently Jim O'Callaghan make a very clear pitch for what his vision would be, and his comments around, partition, I should say. Darragh O'Brien has kind of made similar noises when we had him in here a few weeks ago, and obviously Fine Gael are coming out and trying to own that space too. So, this is becoming a bit more of a, political issue to cling on to.
Yeah, I mean, the Fianna Fáil voter, just looking at it here, is pretty indistinguishable from the overall population, to be honest with you. It's 52% yes, 25% no. The overall population, 53 and 28. That's just a question, which is, do you want a United Ireland? Now, there's lots of questions which often ask, aspects of this in terms of what might prevent you. There's always this question about the financial cost of United Ireland or whatever. So we actually asked a question which asked, which of the following, if any, might cause you to vote no in such a referendum? And the financial cost, 54% say risk of violence, 46, political instability, 46. There's lots of issues that might, destabilise something like this. And I would assume a lot of that is much more strongly likely to be felt amongst perhaps those types of voters. We also asked, it's worth saying, just because your point about Fianna Fáil and its brand, its original brand, the Republican Party, I know Fine Gael, the United Ireland Party, but that distinction and that fear, I guess, within Fianna Fáil that Sinn Féin have taken a lot of that. I actually just think there's not this massive group of people in the south of Ireland for whom this is a
pressing issue.
Not just a pressing issue, but whether it's one that actually determines their voting behaviour.
No.
Really. I think the Sinn Féin vote is so overwhelmingly working class and correlated with, income deprivation indices and all that sort of stuff, that it's not, viewing that as a kind of United Ireland vote is one thing.
Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the kind of more social issues you've asked? You've asked some interesting questions here around drug decriminalisation, as well as the 3-day wait for abortion, and story we would have had last week around paid leave.
Yeah.
A miscarriage or abortion.
So the drugs one, just as you mentioned that one first, do you agree with the decriminalisation of all drugs for personal use? The question, all drugs, probably not exactly, kind of broadens out a little bit, but 57% say no, 34% say yes. The abortion one is also very interesting. This is not the first time we've asked this. We asked this also back in March. It was much closer back in March, which is interesting because I think what happens is, and this is a reflection of the fact that, I think in our political system there's an understanding of this much more so than there is in Britain, but you can lead voters, you can influence how they adapt. And my sense is that when we asked this before, it was very close, and Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael voters were more likely to oppose changes to this 3-day wait. Now the Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael voters are marginally in favour of this change.
And the Social Democrats kind of set the agenda with that, initially tried their bill. It was seen as going too far, and Sinn Féin tabled their bill, which this question relates to. But what I thought was interesting in these findings was that a relatively strong cohort of Sinn Féin voters who would be opposed. That's maybe not surprising, but considering they put the bill down, every single member of their parliamentary party, or their TDs, I should say, voted for it, compared to Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, where we know that about 2/3 voted against.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth outlining the specific numbers. So 65% to 23% among Sinn Féin, and then 55 to 28 for Fine Gael, and then 43 to 38. So pretty close for Fianna Fáil. Yeah. It's worth also acknowledging that you have independents, Aim to Independent Ireland, very strongly opposed, with the overall figure being 37% disagreeing. So there is this massive group of voters out there who are certainly more socially conservative than where the political system is, broadly speaking, in terms of Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, and everything off to the left of it. You're right, Sinn Féin is interesting. Sinn Féin's positioning on the issue is interesting. They've obviously taken a view that most of their voters are in this area. Yeah. They are absolutely facing a threat from the Social Democrats. They have lost loads of voters to independents. I don't think they're necessarily coming back. But there is a battle going on between Sinn Féin and the Social Democrats for a certain type of voter. And I think that type of voter could swing one way or another. I think there's a large group of voters who will vote between one of those two parties on the basis of who is bigger, because they want to change the government. And currently it's Sinn Féin. If these Social Democrat numbers start to take further up, and the gap between them now is 7, if that gap narrows again, you can expect, I don't know, a momentum.
All right, listen, thanks so much, Kevin. We're going to finish on the final question, which is extremely topical, of who people think is the greatest footballer of all time.
Oh yeah, the GOAT.
The GOAT, and it certainly is not Cristiano Ronaldo.
Cristiano Ronaldo coming out 10%.
10%.
Yeah.
So many people think he's a cod.
I like his, his.
You're wrong, but anyway.
I don't think he's the greatest of all time. I just think.
So who is? I
appreciate his work ethic.
Yeah. The fact that he's 40 is pretty impressive as well.
Yeah, he's the only guy up there who's older than me. So if by a month or two, the Maradona 22%, Pele 32.
That's quite surprising. I would have put Maradona above Pele personally, but there we go. Maybe it's just the historical figure.
Classic
that
ranking when I was growing up was Pele number 1, Maradona number 2, and because I'm Irish, George Best number 3.
George Best shouldn't even be considered in my view in this. But that's okay. I'm not going to get in. That's probably a controversial opinion. But I think you're right. But I think as more time goes by since '86 and that World Cup, or 40 years, and Maradona now been dead, quite maybe 10 years. Yeah. There's that. Look, the point is, the GOAT, according to this poll, is Lionel Messi.
Yeah, 37%, and
break that down among Sinn Féin voters for me. For all those results and more, pick up the Sunday Independent or see independent.ie.